freeway. But again, you saw those closest units behind him were quite a ways. So now they're relying on that helicopter to guide them in here, and they're going to have to traverse here oncoming lanes of traffic with a possible, potential for a head-on collision. When you see these kinds of moves, certainly a very desperate individual behind the wheel. Look at that. There's an officer ahead that was maybe going to get involved here, may not even be aware, but this guy's now maybe trying to hide out behind this business. Might be a drive-through bank. I'm not sure there. Now going to make a turn and go northbound on Ramona Avenue. So you saw there was an officer there, probably a Chino police officer, waiting for him. Or maybe oblivious. I mean, it looked like he had his lights and sirens on, so I have a feeling that officer was waiting for him to continue southbound. He might have seen that officer and decided to turn around. That's, I think, why he decided to pull into that parking lot there and do a U-turn here. Now he's going back northbound. If he continues northbound, you would expect that we might see some of those other deputies who were following him on the 60 freeway here. We'll see what he decides to do. Dropping somebody off, a passenger out, I believe the rear passenger door. So we have a passenger jumping out, unclear, again, how many people may be inside this SUV. We at least have the driver, we had a passenger, and now we have an armed and dangerous individual who's really amping things up here, acting much more erratic in the last 5 minutes and trying desperately to hide out. I would say he's trying to just escape police. I'm sure he doesn't think that he's in the clear here, especially with the helicopters overhead. But I can't imagine that it'll be too much longer before we start to see some more black and whites pull into the frame here. Well, it's interesting. You got to wonder why he picked that spot to drop off the passenger, whether he's familiar with that area, whether the person lives or knows people in that area to hide out. Again, we don't know how many more people might be inside the vehicle, but he is now continuing westbound on Riverside Drive, now riding on the shoulder over the dirt, around a power pole, hitting some traffic here with very little room to maneuver and showing very, very erratic moves here. Again, in the last 5 to 10 minutes, it was a pretty tame pursuit when he was coming down the 15 freeway, doing some circles in Ontario, and then he got on the 60 freeway when we joined you live on Eyewitness News. And just in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes that we've been off the freeway, he's really shown some signs of desperation here. And I still, as we look down there, I still don't see any more law enforcement that's been able to catch up with him since we got off the 60 freeway. So it's been a couple minutes now where he's had lots of room to play with, took the opportunity to drop somebody off in Chino, and now we're continuing westbound on Riverside Drive. Again, the next freeway is going to be the 71 freeway. Once again, he'll have an opportunity if he wants to get on the freeway. There's not a lot of traffic on the 71 freeway, so we'll see what he decides to do. Otherwise, he can continue in the westbound direction. Looks like he's making a northbound turn. That's going to be End Avenue, I believe, or maybe East. That's East End Avenue. Check that, East End Avenue, northbound, approaching the 60 freeway. So he could opt to get back on the 60 freeway if he continues northbound on this roadway. This is a surface street here in Chino on the eastern fringe, or the western fringe, I should say, of Chino. Yep, under the overpass, so he, I'm not sure where the entrance ramp is to the 60 there, if he's going to encounter that entrance ramp or if he's already bypassed it. Looks like he's on that surface street that's adjacent there. That might be County Road that he's on. Yeah, County Road, and he'll eventually hit another entrance ramp. So he's got the opportunity to get on the freeway there. A little more traffic as we made our way westbound through Chino here, but now he's pulling into a gas station. And coming real close to that pickup truck. Really erratic moves here, especially considering that there is no law enforcement nearby that we've been able to see. Nobody's really been able to catch up with him on the ground. They've got the helicopter overhead. You can see a deputy on the overpass there. Here they are. Okay, they've managed to catch up with him under the overpass, right along the train tracks. He's off-roading it now, right along the train tracks here, coming up on Walnut Avenue, and now we have an undercover vehicle right behind him, as well as several other units that have been able to catch up with him. Not exactly clear on which agency they are with. But again, Riverside officers were involved at one point, as well as San Bernardino County Sheriff. So it could be a hodgepodge of agencies here that we're dealing with. Chino Police obviously monitoring this as well. But you can see that undercover vehicle right behind him as he makes his way now in the opposite direction, going back in the eastbound direction on Walnut Avenue. You saw he was very desperate there, decided to off-road it a bit right along the train tracks. It was unclear what he was going to do there, but he decided to get back on a surface street here, and this is Walnut Avenue that we're looking at. He got under the freeway and is now paralleling the 60 freeway here in Chino. Yeah, good observation there. If it was indeed the rear door, that would indicate that there's a likelihood of somebody else in the front passenger seat. We'll see if we can get a better glimpse here. Looks like there is an arm at the passenger window, so we've got at least two individuals to consider here inside this vehicle, and possibly more. Again, armed and dangerous suspects. LA County's sheriff helicopter is now overhead as well. So again, numerous agencies involved in this pursuit already. If you include Riverside County, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, CHP on the freeway was following him as well, and now we have LA County Sheriff engaged as well from up above. So lots of law enforcement to catch up with this guy. You know, when they hear a 245, that's going to be the code out here in San Bernardino for assault on assault with a deadly weapon, and it was on a police officer. They are not going to let this go at all. And you can see he's going right through a red light there. Very desperate to evade police officers, but I just don't see it happening, guys. This guy is going to be taken down one way or the other this afternoon. We'll just have to wait and see how this all plays out as we make our way continuing eastbound on Riverside Drive here in San Bernardino. This pursuit continuing as we kick off the 5 o'clock hour. Absolutely, and you know, at one point, I know that they were considering in Ontario a spike strip. They never actually managed to successfully try that, but they are certainly considering all options here. The thing is, when you know, we don't know how many people are inside, and more importantly, what the extent of the weaponry that they have in there. You know, what are they carrying that is leading them to believe that these guys are armed and dangerous, besides the fact that, well, obviously they have information that we don't have considering the original want here, but they are going to treat this very gingerly as they eventually catch up with him. And ultimately, when this pursuit comes to an end, it's going to be a moment of drama, as they all are to some degree or another. But you can see we're continuing here eastbound on Riverside Drive, just passing 14th Street with, I believe that's going to be San Bernardino County Sheriff once again right behind him. Rob, if we push in there just a smidge, you can see it looks like, or that actually might be Chino Police. Looks like Chino Police right behind him, pulling up along the left rear. And whether they've given the go-ahead for that pit maneuver or not, I can't tell you. Or maybe he's just trying to get a better glimpse. But it did look like he was pulling up ahead. Now he's coming up on the right side. And maybe he's just trying to, he's just kind of anticipating his moves here. Not a lot of traffic to contend with. He saw that car up ahead, and he knows that this guy's desperate to weave through traffic, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's been doing it for the better part of the last hour now. Whenever he encounters any traffic, he has no problem oncoming lanes, over the double yellow lines, even off-roading at one point a few minutes ago, paralleling those train tracks before getting back on surface streets. But when he sees traffic, he has no problem weaving through here. So now police trying to keep up with him as he navigates some of this rush hour traffic. Again, it looks like he's got much of this particular road to himself, with the exception of a few cars on the roadway. But again, we're continuing in the eastbound direction along Riverside Drive here in Chino. Yeah, he just made a northbound turn onto Euclid Avenue, so getting off of Riverside, now heading back towards the freeway. 60 freeway up ahead. If he continues northbound on Euclid Avenue, you can see they have a primary unit right behind him, and that undercover officer still involved in this pursuit. It'll be interesting to see which agency he's from. It may be the original agency in pursuit. We don't know if that was Riverside or San Bernardino, but he's right behind the primary unit in this case, and then there are several other black and whites behind him. So several units on the ground there participating in this pursuit. 2 law enforcement helicopters overhead here, and we are now approaching Walnut Street once again, and he looks like he just passed his opportunity to get onto the 60 freeway. If he was going to go eastbound, he could decide to go westbound, and it looks like that's what he's going to do. Back on to the transition to the 60 freeway. We're going to be going once again westbound towards LA County. So we're in Chino, entering the 60 freeway, and he'll be back in the direction of LA County, where LA County is already monitoring from above, and they will have units on the ground as well. CHP also monitoring. If he stays on the freeway, they will eventually take this over. Yeah, and really, you could just kind of tell there was no rhyme or reason through any of that. The only goal in his mind at this point is to try and outrun the police. So this is now a game of simple cat and mouse. This is a cat and mouse pursuit with a felony suspect behind the wheel. Several people in that vehicle at one point. Now we know of at least a driver and a passenger who has occasionally waved his arm out the passenger side window, having fun with police, and they will be taken down this afternoon one way or the other. As we've been mentioning, you can see law enforcement right behind him, not letting him out of his sight. Earlier, they did give him a little bit of distance on the freeway. Now they are right behind him. Once again, maybe 6 car lengths behind that Jeep, and he is continuing now as he gets back over to the carpool lane, heading back towards LA County. do you think? 90 minutes? So we've got a little more traffic up ahead here. There's also either an accident or a traffic stop up ahead as well as he continues to make his way closer to the 71 freeway. Mark, you're so right about that. Very peculiar why he picked that location to drop off that passenger, but it does appear that that passenger has indeed been taken into custody by one agency. I'm not sure which agency, possibly Chino PD, maybe a different agency. There have been several undercover units involved in this pursuit at various points, starting from the very, very beginning when he was coming down the 15 freeway. I'm not sure where this originated yet, but as he's made his way into San Bernardino County, there again have been several that we've observed, including the unmarked unit right behind the primary unit you see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen right there. So we do have, well, and you're right, by the way, most certainly getting some intel from that passenger as well. So you can see now another unit now coming into picture here. This is going to be CHP. CHP is officially going to take over this pursuit. Chino police held on to it for quite a while, but now as he commits to the 60 freeway, CHP is now officially taking over the pursuit. That's going to be the new primary unit that you see right there on the right-hand side of your screen, as this person gets closer to the 71 freeway, and it looks like he's going to be committing to the 60 freeway, bypassing the 71, and now getting close to the Diamond Bar area. Odd to see him slowing down slightly, all the way down to about 40 miles per hour at one point here, and now back up to the mid-60s. But he's got the entire roadway to play with here. You would, based on the behavior that we've been observing, you almost would have expected that he would be going a little bit quicker. Now he seems to be, relatively speaking, slowing down to about 65, 70 as he makes his way westbound on a wide open 60 freeway, making his way into the Diamond Bar area. And as the sun begins to set here in Diamond Bar, you can now see the night sun from the LA County Sheriff helicopter, which has joined the pursuit. So we've got CHP right behind him, and now being assisted by the LA County Sheriff's Department from above as these positions are called out. But for the time being, maintaining a pretty steady 70 miles per hour. Now getting over to the right lane, may decide to get off at the 57. Well, the 60 basically ends at the 57, so he'll have to make a decision one way or the other, either northbound 57 or southbound here in Diamond Bar. Hour and 20, Jay. No, still on the 60. Yeah, he's got some traffic to contend with. He's on the 50. He's back basically where the 60 freeway meets the 57 in Diamond Bar. So he'll have a decision to make here between staying on the 60 or continuing southbound on the 57 freeway. And it's so interesting, and you're right, by the way, he's definitely slowing down for no apparent reason. You see he's got plenty of freeway ahead of him here to play with, and he's just basically slowed down for no apparent reason. Pretty heavily tinted windows, as you can see from this shot right here. We'll try and get a little bit closer on that driver's side window. But you're so right, Mark, about that dance that law enforcement is playing up here. This is a tremendous example of excellent cooperation between a number of different counties and police departments. We have Ontario has their helicopter up as overhead as well, and now CHP's helicopter overhead. So in dramatic LA fashion, especially with a strongly armed and dangerous pursuit suspect leading police on this wild pursuit, we now have an army of helicopters engaged in this pursuit from above, helping out the units on the ground. CHP taking over on the freeway there, and he looks like he's going to commit to the 57 freeway here. Going to take us southbound through Diamond Bar. So that's a decision point that he had to make here, whether he was going to continue westbound on the 60 or get on the 57. It looks like he's staying on the 57 freeway now, going south towards Orange County. Well, this is an area where the freeway incline increases just a little bit, so he's basically going uphill a bit. Now, that's unclear whether he's got it on cruise control or what he's doing here, but that may play into his speed as he goes uphill on the freeway here. Again, a slight incline, but that'll make a difference. Often does with traffic. When you go up these inclines, traffic slows down quite a bit. He may be subconsciously slowing down on his own here. Speculation on my part, but that's one possibility. Certainly no other reason I can see here why he is just doing right about the speed limit, basically between 50 and 60 miles per hour, allowing that black and white right behind him to maintain that distance. Again, about 8 car lengths right behind him, and several more units right behind them. So if we look at this shot here, we've got at least five black and whites. I believe most, if not all of them, are the California Highway Patrol, all of whom are pit qualified if they have an opportunity at some point to take that tactic, or maybe even set up for a spike strip. If they could set up at one of the off-ramps, they may start closing off traffic ahead of him. I'm going to assume here that they're running a traffic brake behind him. It does look like I haven't seen anybody pass him, so I'm pretty sure that CHP is now braking traffic behind him. He won't have anybody coming up from behind, but we can expect that at some point they will start having units block off the entrance ramps up ahead here as we make our way in towards Yorba Linda. Or actually, I would check that. I'm going to say heading up towards Brea up ahead here. Yeah, hey there, Mark. Sorry about that. I'm back with you. Unclear what prompted this, only that it's an assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and that's almost absent any other information that we have currently, that's almost all you need to know about how serious and how dangerous this person is behind the wheel. Dangerous suspects behind the wheel, and officers who will stop at nothing to take this person, these people, into custody. When you're talking about charges of that nature, it just makes things so much more serious for everybody involved. Everybody's got a dog in the race, if you will, and you can see CHP now the primary agency here. They are actually handing it off to another CHP field office, and they are doing that dance now as we make our way into Orange County. Orange County's CHP station taking over here, and we'll have new units replacing the units that we've been watching here for the last several minutes. But again, southbound now on the 57 freeway. He'll have an option to take the 90. He can get off at the 90 or continue southbound towards Placentia. So we'll see what he decides to do here, but at least 2 people in that vehicle, armed and dangerous. And to answer your question, Mark, we really don't have much more than that. Assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and I'm not sure if that happened today or if this is an outstanding charge. A warrant may be out for his arrest. Don't have that information at this point. Certainly law enforcement does have that information, in addition to lots of other information about the suspect, presumably maybe trying to contact relatives or the suspect himself. But at this point, all of that is speculation on my part. You can see he's had the driver's side window up the whole time. The heavily tinted windows, the only window that we've seen come down was the passenger side window, with the passenger in the front seat waving his arm at the vehicle at various points. And again, he did drop somebody off. A passenger from the back seat did make a run for it in Chino when we were back in San Bernardino County, but that person has now been taken into custody, and presumably they're getting information from that female suspect as well. So law enforcement with lots of information at their disposal, but it's a lot of question marks up here for us. Go ahead. Copy. Thank you. I got most of that. We're good for now. Uh, yeah, a little more than a mile, but he's definitely going to have to slow down after the 91. Thank you. Yeah, waving through rush hour traffic here, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, he saw that traffic. Yeah, going the wrong way on the on-ramp. So this is the trend. Yeah, this is the transition at Glassell Street. So he's going the wrong way on the on-ramp. They're going to follow him. Actually, I believe they're following him in this direction. But now he's getting off here, and again encountering oncoming traffic. Now making a right, so he can correct that, go the right way. Now he's making a northbound turn. I'm sorry. Yeah, Yeah, no, he's going now back over the freeway. So, you know, it was earlier that he got off of the 57 and made that eastbound turn onto the 91. If he would have made a westbound turn onto the 91, there was much less traffic. But okay, now here's a passenger jumping out the passenger seat, and that passenger now looks like she's hurt. That passenger is now, as a female passenger, laying down in the middle of the roadway as this pursuit continues. She took a hard hit to the head with that door. She tried to jump out of a moving vehicle, and now she is lying still. He's slowing down dramatically down to 20 miles per hour, and things have really been ramped up here. We've heard that he was talking about letting that passenger out in communication with CHP, who's been talking to him on the phone. Now, this is, again, an armed and dangerous suspect wanted for assault with a deadly weapon. They zeroed in on him apparently in Moreno Valley. This is an outstanding warrant. They got a tip that he was in the area. They managed to track him down, and that's when the pursuit began in Moreno Valley. Unclear which agency he committed that assault with a deadly weapon, but it was an officer. It was assault with a deadly weapon on an officer, and there were several passengers inside this SUV. Earlier in the hour, we saw him drop somebody off in Chino, and now you saw a passenger from the front right seat, both female passengers, as he's now making a U-turn. Both female passengers are now out of the vehicle, and we have at least one driver inside this vehicle who is driving much more erratically, and we can only wonder what the condition of that passenger is now. She basically jumped out of a moving vehicle, took a hard hit with that door as he almost dragged her, and she fell immediately to the ground. So police officers back there, that CHP with her, and we'll get her condition presumably here before not too long. But he's now coming up on Kramer Boulevard once again as he continues eastbound on La Palma Avenue here in Orange County. We are in Anaheim, and I have a feeling he jumped off of the freeway because traffic was just getting too slow. You saw when he started hitting all those brake lights, he started doing some more weaving, some more erratic driving, and finally said, you know what, I'm done with this. Let's get off the freeway. And now he's back on surface streets. We're on surface streets here in Anaheim, passing Armando Street. CHP still the primary agency here, and you can see they have their night sun up above. So this is getting ever more interesting. At the very least, we have one less passenger now inside that vehicle. So we have at least a driver. Unclear if there's anybody else, but at least two passengers who have now exited the vehicle, one of them possibly injured. We're north of the freeway now, yeah. Anaheim PD taking over. I think they're going to try a pit. They may try a pit here. They may try a pit here. Anaheim PD has taken over the pursuit, guys. Anaheim, well, at least they're involved. I can tell you that CHP is still involved as well, but Anaheim has now entered the theater, and they are contemplating a possible pit maneuver. Certainly, he's going, well, maybe not quite slow enough. They like to see him slow down to about 35 miles per hour, ideally, for that pit maneuver, but if there's nobody else in danger, they may take it a little bit quicker if the supervisor gives the go-ahead. Now going through a green light. He's got the green light, making a right turn now, so he's making a right turn onto, I believe that's going to be Lincoln Avenue, and he's going to have some roadway to himself here, but Anaheim PD, now the agency behind him with their helicopter overhead as well. We are in the heart of Orange County here as we make our way now north, or excuse me, I think we're yes, I'm sorry, south. We're going south on Lincoln. Yeah, it almost seems like he was a little rattled when that passenger jumped out. That's really when he started to slow down, turn the lights off. He's now got all of his lights off. And I misspoke earlier. We're actually going westbound on Lincoln. We've just passed the 57th freeway. So westbound on Lincoln, Anaheim PD right behind him. And I think we should pay careful attention to that primary unit right there near the bottom of the screen. They may be setting up for that pit maneuver if he continues this trend here. He's slowing down. Earlier had no hesitation going into oncoming lanes of traffic. Looks like he's trying to stay on the right side now in a turn lane on Lincoln, coming up on East Street, and he makes the turn, or maybe just tries to cut off some of this traffic. No, he's making a turn here, making a southbound turn onto East Street, and you can see police following slowly behind him. Speeds now under 20 miles per hour. We'll see if he picks up a little bit of steam here, but for the time being, he has really slowed down. Suffice it to say, in the last 10 minutes, he's really slowed down. Not sure if there's an issue with the vehicle, but he is definitely, maybe it could just be stamina. I don't know, but he has definitely slowed down quite a bit and doesn't really appear to have a clear idea of where he wants to take this. We're seeing a lot of zigzagging, some circles here now as we travel through this neighborhood here in Anaheim. Fuel. 40 minutes. Another U-turn. And going into a residential neighborhood now. So He may be zeroing in on an area he is familiar with, or he's just going on a joyride here, maybe through Anaheim. Unclear how familiar he is with the area, but as we've made our way into Orange County here, we just noticed that the speeds have really dropped dramatically, and this is the first time throughout this pursuit that we have actually been in a residential neighborhood. For the most part, he's been taking main arteries and a lot of freeway time on the freeway, but this is the first time he's now in a residential neighborhood doing relatively slow speeds now. Unclear still how many people are inside the vehicle. Again, to reiterate, he's already dropped off 2 passengers. Now seeing a little bit of traffic, he's back on the going the wrong way again in oncoming lanes of traffic. Again, to reiterate, this is a very dangerous person behind the wheel, wanted for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer out in Moreno Valley, and that's where this pursuit began. There was a warrant out for his arrest. They tracked this guy down, probably, from what I understand, undercover units, but there have now been numerous agencies involved in this pursuit. For the better part of the last 90 minutes, we've seen more than a half dozen agencies at least take part in this pursuit. We'll see where he decides to take it from here, but he's gotten off the freeway and hasn't really shown signs of getting back on. Just a lot of traffic out there on a Friday evening, and so that seems to be his biggest obstacles. When he sees a lot of traffic, he immediately will do either a U-turn and do an about face and reverse course, or weave around traffic, at some points even going the wrong way. So a very desperate individual behind the wheel there. And as you mentioned, Mark, it's really any number of ways this could end. Here he's slowing down with the traffic here, coming up on another major intersection, again continuing southbound on State College Boulevard here in Anaheim. Going real slow. He's really slowing down. Maybe coming to a stop here. He's coming to a stop. All right, he's got. He had a hand out the window there for a second. Looks like he was going to come to a stop, and now he's continuing on, albeit very, very slowly. Speeds under 20 miles per hour as he makes his way, continuing southbound on State College Boulevard. Unclear why he's slowing down so dramatically. Again, it almost looked like he was about to come to a complete stop. So it may be an indication that he's running low on gas. He may be on the final fumes, but for all we know, he may still have some gas left in the tank. As you mentioned, Mark, these vehicles do not get great gas mileage. We don't have any idea really how much he started with, but it just is very apparent here in the last few minutes how much he has slowed down and almost came to a stop there. But he had a hand out the window, out of the driver's side window, and now crawling through this intersection. We're at Winston and State College Boulevard there, just past Winston, and now it does look like he's coming to a complete stop. We'll see if he pulls into this parking lot or continues on, but he is definitely giving officers at least some indication that he's trying to give up. They are talking to him. They were talking to him at one point via cell phone. It looks like just his arm. I didn't see anything in his hand, but he was waving out the driver's side window, and officers behind him do have their door, or had just a few seconds ago, had their doors open, but he's picked up a little bit of speed again. again, crawling down State College Boulevard. He was waving. And what I was about to say was earlier, they did have communication with him via cell phone at one point. Not sure if that's still the case, if there's a negotiator involved here trying to get him to pull over, or maybe a family member. Who knows? But they were in communication here not too long ago before that passenger jumped out of the vehicle a few minutes ago. But again, he's showing some really erratic signs of giving up here, maybe deciding that he's had enough, or maybe just trying to exhaust the last remaining fumes of gasoline. We'll just have to wait and see. He's come to a complete stop now at East Cerritos Avenue here at along State College Boulevard. I can't tell whether he's got the green light. So he's stopped at a green light, or no, it's a red light, excuse me. He stopped at a red light, now all of a sudden deciding to obey the traffic signal. Stopped at a red light here right along State College Boulevard, and we'll see what they decide to do here. Here comes the canine. Here comes the canine dog, and they are on the phone with him. I'm being told they are on the phone with him, so that may be playing into their decision-making here, that they are communicating with him via cell phone, and it does look like they're setting up for the felony stop. Hopefully, he will decide to give himself up here, but a very armed and dangerous suspect who has led police on a 90-minute pursuit throughout the Inland Empire, ending up here in Orange County, hopefully about to give himself up here. As we've been talking about, this has been a pretty decent environment for them to bring this pursuit to an end. If they decide to get a little more aggressive, if he was to continue those moves, I would not have been surprised at all. Here comes the door. The driver's side door is open, and it looks like he may be giving it up right here. We'll see. We'll go ahead and stay wide here just as a precaution to make sure things don't go sideways here, Mark. But he does have his arms and hands up in the air, and he is now facing away from police officers. He stepped out of the vehicle. This pursuit has come to an end. He'll be asked to get on his knees here momentarily, and they will handle him very, very gingerly as they take him into custody. What a crazy pursuit. Fortunately, does not appear we're dealing with any serious injuries here. Of course, there was one passenger who did appear to get hurt as she jumped out of a moving vehicle. But other than that, this has claimed no other casualties as far as we're aware of. And he's now stepping backwards, step by step, walking backwards in the direction of police officers. This is going to be Anaheim police right behind him here, who will be taking him into custody here in the next few seconds. They will have to clear the entire vehicle. Once they take him into custody, they will step up to the vehicle, as we often see, and make sure there's nobody else, and they will eventually give the ubiquitous code 4 that we often see at the end of these pursuits. So that will be the indication that there is nobody else left inside the vehicle. But for the time being, the first priority is to get this driver into custody here, and they are going to take their time doing that. You can see the canine officer just behind him there, and it looks like he has decided to give up. I'm assuming it's a he. It was 2 female passengers that he dropped off, but I believe it's a male suspect that's giving himself up now. Oddly turned around now. This is odd. He's now facing police face to face. Very unusual for them to ask him to do that. So it looks like he's turning around. So now he's got his back once again to police. He's walking backwards, and they will take him hands behind his back here momentarily. So he's walking backwards in the direction of Anaheim police officers, and here we go. He is now being taken into custody. We have the freedom to go ahead and zoom in here. Officers still with their guns drawn, aimed squarely at that SUV now. All eyes are going to be on that SUV to make sure there's nobody else inside the vehicle. So this driver is now being taken into custody. We've counted a total of 3 people so far, 2 people who jumped out earlier. Now the driver being taken into custody here in Anaheim. We'll see if there's anybody else inside this vehicle. Fuel. 20 minutes. We'll be going to John Wayne. Copy. Yep, office. Yeah, some debris falling out of the rear passenger seat, but other than that, does not appear that there's anybody else in there. They're going to open up the back hatch, that door there, and make sure, but it does look like the vehicle is empty. Clear for John Wayne. Thank you, Jay. I'm sorry, one more time.